I want to take this second to sound really smart.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I'm going to sound really smart. I'm going to sound really cool. I'm going to sound really edgy right now. I'm going to take this opportunity. It's been a long time, but I finally found out what an MMORPG is. Finally.
Oh, you've only been around it for half your life.
I know it. Massively multiplayer online role-playing game.
I feel like you just read that off the paper.
No, I just read it right now, yeah, but I learned about it yesterday, actually.
You read it off the paper. You didn't memorize it. You just read it off the paper.
There was no need to memorize. I'll probably never say that phrase ever again in my life.
No effort.
I probably will never say that sentence again. But, you know, it's funny. I don't do it myself, but I have such a large appreciation for it. Because I could just tell by looking at games like this that it has to be fucking maddening to put some shit like that together. Not just to put it together in the first place, but actually have it sell. Because there are some games that were created in that genre that didn't go anywhere. I can't imagine putting that much of your life into something and people just look at it and go, it's all right. And then you just move the fuck on. As soon as the episode starts, I thought to myself, because this is more your world than mine, but I looked at the very, very beginning and I went, see, I kind of got that vibe. As soon as they started mentioning tabletop games, right off the gun, I said, I don't even know why you mentioned tabletop games when you really want to mention the tabletop game. And as soon as they said it, like shortly after they mentioned it, Dungeons and Dragons. Mm-hmm. If you're my age and you don't really play video games, but you see something like Warcraft, you think of Dungeons and Dragons. You don't entirely know if they're connected, but that vibe is there. So you've
never played Dungeons and Dragons, have you?
Yes, I have. It's been a very long time, but yes, I did. I used to play it a lot.
Blown away by that.
Yeah, I used to play it a lot because my friends, when I used to visit my friends in New York, they played. So I want to say like sometime in the late 90s. Yeah, a couple times.
Never fucking told me.
You were younger. So like, my trainer for when I pledged them the Pioneers, which inside baseball, but it was just a summer program for the youth, something for them to do. It was like a summer camp type deal, and the person who was in charge of the group, his name was Sherrod, which I never thought I would say on this podcast ever. It took 298 episodes to say it. But Sherrod was a huge Dungeons and Dragons guy, and huge to the point where, like, he would we're the kids, right? And he wasn't that much older than us. He was maybe like, let's say like 19 or 20, and we were like 13, 14, so like 5 years apart. But he was like really into it to the point where like he would throw little lines out, just like, just make little jokes. And I didn't know at the time what it was, but a couple of my friends did, and they were picking up on that, and they're joking back and forth. Next thing you know, he's like, yo, when this is over, y'all want to go play for real, like play a game. I'd never played before, and I ended up playing, and I had fun. I came back every time, especially since the drinks kept coming. Yes, absolutely, let's do that. So yeah, I played a little bit. So I got an idea of kind of like the gameplay, like how it's supposed to kind of look, but I've never really played A, consistently, and B, I think I played with a bunch of people that were playing like fun wise. They were just like goofing. I was never in a room with like a serious D&D sesh, where like everyone's got their fucking shit out. The arguing is there. Oh, man, just like the pressure. I need an 18 or above. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've never really been like in that setting. I've seen it on the television. One of my favorite community episodes is the Dungeons and Dragons episode. Still to this day, fucking top tier. Because in that episode, I'm Chevy Chase. I'm the guy who's just like, can I do this? Yes. Then I choose to do this. And it's the stupidest fucking thing that you could possibly do, but fuck it. I want to do it because I can. It's part of the game. So, like, but to take it back to the video game, that's That's the vibe that I got the first time I ever saw you play it. Because they were saying names that I don't know, like games that I don't know, but I remember seeing them because you had them. Like you know, when they were talking about all the different games that were transitioning from one to the other and expanding, which was another thing, Blizzard Entertainment. When he said Blizzard, I remember the logo. Almost instantaneously, I remember the fucking logo. Then they showed it shortly after, but I remember just games, just seeing you with the fucking games and with that logo on them, and it just took me back to a fucking time. And I'm watching him with, I watched a little bit of it with my son. He wasn't paying too much attention to it, but it's on. And when Warcraft came up, he would take a look, and Diablo would come up, he'd take a look, and he would just peeking his head up, and he's looking at him, and he's just like, that's interesting. I was like, don't get lost in this, kid. I'm telling you, this is not a...
Change your life.
You don't... This is a dedication that you need to be ready for. You can't just sit here and do on and off, because his attention span is short. I said, brother, this is a lifelong commitment. You don't understand. So at the very top of it, obviously, got to start with the big names, right? Alan Adham, Mike Morhaime, however you pronounce their names. They're the founders of Blizzard Entertainment, or as they called it, Silicon and Synapse. And that became Chaos Studios, all of which met their demise. Silicon was just a dumb name. They just didn't like it. Hard to pronounce, hard to spell. Chaos, they got sued. They got cease and desists from other companies using the Chaos. And then it landed on Blizzard. So you're more into this than anybody that I know. I mean, we're here at the beginning of the episode. Was there anything really in here, in this episode, that really, like, shocked you? Like, anything new that you really didn't know before you watched this?
How fuck it they were about it.
Oh!
Not in a sense,
it was driving me insane.
Not in a sense of, like, we don't care about this. In a sense, like, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I kept hearing the phrase, I don't know how to do that.
Yep.
Over and over.
Boy, if I would have seen this documentary when I was younger, I think that would have had such a huge impact on me now. That would have made my life see the world so differently if I would have, like, known that when I was younger. It's just so much less pressure. Like, you mean to tell me these guys just said, I want to make a video game? And they're like, I don't know how. Just like, but dude, we could figure it out. Like, who fucking cares?
Can I be the one in the room? Can I be the one in the room? Am I the only one that just kind of I rolled my eyes. Just the fucking privilege of it. Right? Because
I thought of that too.
Because in the beginning when they were students at UCLA, and I think it was Alan who goes, I knew immediately right after college I wanted to start a video game company. And I was like, okay, there's a dream, right? What kind of person who's into games doesn't want to own a company? He's like, yeah, so when college was over, I already had $11,000 saved in my college account. I'm like, you did 4 years of UCLA and you had $11,000 left in your pocket when you left school? Were you not hungry ever?
Some people make the right decisions.
Some people make the right decisions, fair. But if you're going to college, forget college. I went to college. I didn't go to fucking UCLA. I would assume a bag of chips on campus is $10 each. He didn't spend any fucking money at all to have $11,000. How much was the tuition?
Full ride.
Full ride to skip classes, because he's also telling stories about, well, that one class what was it he said? I had an AI class. He had an AI class in the fucking 80s and 90s.
That's AI then. People didn't take it that seriously.
He said, I had an AI class and it was so dry I just left and just started playing video games. And they were just like, boring. What did he said? We wanted to start a video game company, but we didn't know how. So we found Frank. He's like, wait, what? What is happening? They were so cavalier about just fucking ever. It was almost as if there was never even a thought of what happens if this fails. There was no panic. There was no, we have to make this work. It was just, meh, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, that was my takeaway. It was like, yeah, well, you know, these guys clearly know what they want. They don't have the pressures of, I wouldn't say financial pressure. That's unfair. I'm sure they like obviously wanted and needed money, but they were just allocating their money to the things that they want, and they damn sure didn't have enough of it to do what they wanted. They still had to figure it out, but It was like they were committed to what they wanted to do, and they were in a position to be able to like focus their life on it rather than like having to worry about things like just other pressures in life, having debt. I'm not saying they were debt free, but I mean, it obviously wasn't.
Yeah, they made mention of actually maxing their credit. Yeah, so trying to pay the employees.
I mean, they had a good enough credit to have enough credit to pay their staff with their credit.
Exactly.
So they weren't
long enough to recoup the money.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know. It just made me think about like, fuck. Dude.
They were so behind the eight ball on how to make video games that they actually showed us in the documentary the books that they read to figure it out. It was a Cliff Notes book that said how to make Nintendo games. They read a Cliff Notes book. How to make Nintendo games.
Yep.
Holy shit.
I think it said video games for dummies.
Yeah.
Nintendo games for dummies.
Oh my God, the Super Famicom.
I think that would be the equivalent of watching YouTube, right?
Yeah. There was another portion that kind of... Remember how a second ago you were like, some of these stories, I'm not going to say they're fake, but at the same time, like some of the dots don't really connect, and how it kind of is confusing to hear. So they told a quick story. They worked with Davison and Associates, which was a software company at the time. They even threw out the big name game that they had, which was Math Blasters. I played that in school. I loved Math Blasters. It's the only time I ever loved math. I just wanted
some of the games that they did actually kind of was a little shocking.
Yeah. So Davidson and Associates were working with Blizzard, or Chaos at the time, into trying to create more games for for them and the PC era and the floppies and all that stuff. They were trying to create these games, but they were spending more than they were making. They were not doing well. Was the company. So Davidson had offered to acquire the company. They said, we'll buy the company. We'll give you guys X amount of money, which on paper sounds like a good deal because they're hemorrhaging. And for whatever reason, they were both like, no, we're good. Because, as Alan put it, the only thing they really didn't like about the deal was the fact that they would be owned completely and they'd have their hands in the pie, and they want full autonomy. They want creative control. They want to be able to make the games that they want to make. Which
it's so fucking ironic.
It makes sense to a degree. That part makes sense. I can see why you wouldn't want to sell your company to somebody else. Come hell or high water, sink or swim, I'm going to stay with my company because I just want the freedom to do what I want to do.
I want my vision.
I get that, right? What I didn't get was that a few months later, with no change at all whatsoever, there was no last-minute success, there was no spike in the meter. They're not only in the same place, they're still hemorrhaging. Out of nowhere, Davidson comes back. It says, we'll give you the autonomy. You can still make the games you want to make, giving them everything they want to have. Plus, we'll double our money. We just really want to acquire the company. And then they said yes. And then Alan says, I don't know why they offered it. We weren't really doing anything, but they came back with an offer and we took it. And they
literally just had to wait them out a little bit.
But that's what I'm saying. I paused it and went, that's a great question. Why the fuck would they make that deal?
You know why? And here's my thought, because I'm glad you brought this up to remind me, because I did want to talk about this. I think that the other people were hemorrhaging harder. And that the only people that were really bringing them success probably was them. To the point where they're like, all right. Like, we want you on board, whatever, right? Like, something to that. That's the only thing that makes sense. Because they literally just had to probably wait a month or two more. They would have got them for free.
They had they probably would have scooped them up in some sort of an auction somewhere. But they made the offer, and it didn't make sense. I was like, you made a good point. We don't know the other side's financials, and one man's hemorrhage is another man's bleed out. We don't know.
Yep.
But it's the only way that I would see that you jumped on a boat with a hole in it is if your boat had 2 holes in it. So I guess that would make a little bit more sense. But the funny thing about that is if that's true, they did a really good job of hiding that from the other company, because it seems like the other company had no idea why this offer was even on the table, but they took it, which was smart. They did wait it out, and they did wait for the autonomy, and they got it. One of the big breaks they had with this newfound relationship was a video game, Dune and Dune 2, which was the big break, but obviously based off of the original films, not the current ones, which, by the way, the original film and the current films, I still have not seen, so I don't know anything about those. But hugely successful was Dune 2. And they broke out the acronym RTS, Real-Time Strategy Game. And I was like, okay, so, all right, real-time strategy game. And they were trying to explain it to me. I didn't get the layman's term, though. Like, what is the difference between that and the role-playing?
What, an RTS and a role-playing game?
Yes.
Like an RPG or an RTS?
Yes.
An RTS. Have you ever seen StarCraft?
Yes.
Okay, that's an RTS.
Okay.
So it's real time. It's literally you're controlling a bunch of units going on. Think of a map. You have a vision of the map, right? So like your screen shows you, your camera is showing you a section, almost like a zoomed in portion of that map, right? And then there are things happening around the entire map, but you can only see what your camera is on, and for some games, what you have vision on. And it requires you to take units and build it to the point where you can take over something, right? Like the challenge would be go to the base and take over their base or destroy their base. And the real-time strategy is I'm navigating resources, building units, and then strategically moving those units throughout that map. And now I have to move my camera from my units that are moving amongst the map while also keeping an eye on my resources, while also defending the units and my base. Oh, okay. So you don't get to zoom out and see it all, really. You have to move your camera around. So it's literally just real-time strategy. If I send my unit across the map, it will start to walk across the map, and then I can go look at other things, and then I can go and check on it and make sure that it's doing what I want it to do. And there's usually a bunch of things going on at once. And I think, hands down, it is the number one most fucking difficult genre to play. And if you play that, you are some type of your brain just works on a whole fucking different level. Absolutely. Well, I am terrified of RTSs. They are scary to me.
Oh my God.
Yeah, my brain will explode I've tried. It just doesn't work.
Well, the success of Dune led them to a world led by the pen of Samwise Didier, who was the senior art designer for Blizzard, who got into his bag and created the first version, the very first, this one that starts it all, Warcraft, Orcs, and Humans.
Yep.
The first Blizzard release specifically from Blizzard and not licensed from another, like an Activision or something like that. It's their first actual general release. Mm-hmm. And if you are a company that is hemorrhaging, you're paying out of pocket, you're maxing out your credit cards, you're living dollar by dollar, and you put all of your chips at the center of a table for one game to get it off the ground. Please, mama needs a new pair of shoes. They needed a home run, and they fucking cleared the bases and got a grand slam. Warcraft, hugely successful. Out of the gate, their first one, which was funny to the creators because they were like, even the creators were like, oh, this is tip of the iceberg shit. Because we kept saying they didn't know what they were doing. They were just kind of winging things and figuring things out. I think the best explanation that one guy said, He goes, we weren't experienced. We didn't know what we were doing, and that was perfect for what we were trying to do because we were doing things experienced gamers would have never tried.
Yep.
We were.
Yeah, someone made a comment. I think something, very similar to that, where it's like, if you were a experienced developer, you would have never done what we did because we accidentally fell into the shit we were doing because we didn't know what we were doing.
We didn't know. Yeah, they didn't have to worry about barriers.
Experienced developers would avoid what we were doing.
Yeah, they would have avoided it like the plague. They would have avoided it.
Yeah.
Once
I felt that in my bones. So can I say I felt like I don't know what happened to me as a child, but there is something engraved in me that just loves to do the things the hard way. Like, especially nowadays, games have the min-maxing, all figured out before the game even comes out. And I'll go see what the best builds are. And I'm like, okay, what can I do that's the opposite of this? What can I do that is proven to not work? Because I'm sure I can make it work.
No,
I never do. But something about me I just have to try. So when they said that, I'm like, dude, I felt that in my spirit, dude.
There's a long list of people like you out there. I don't know, like even simple shit you play arcade Street Fighter. Yo, who's the one character everybody hates? Oh, nobody likes Dalsim. I picked Dalsim. I want that guy. And it's just... There's always those people. Player? Yeah, who's the worst thing? Who's the worst thing? Who's the worst? What's the worst gun? What's the gun nobody likes? Oh, this gun sucks. I'm using that gun.
Dude. I don't know why. I wish I got joy just playing the meta. I don't.
I got introduced to a new word from my son. Maybe you've heard of it. Because it seems like that kind of behavior fits into this word. I've been seeing Alex listen to a lot of videos from players online who have been doing Nuzlocks.
Yeah.
Have you heard about the Nuzlocks?
Yeah.
Well, they do these self-imposed little challenges to try to do things. I'm like, that's insane. Because some of these people...
I believe, has kept Pokemon relevant.
Oh, yeah. A lot of those videos are, from the Pokemon world. I saw one, he showed me one the other day. It was Plants vs. Zombies. And this guy was like, well, I just completed this challenge, and I came up with a new one. Can I beat Plants vs. Zombies without killing a single zombie? I was like, what? What the fuck?
Real thing.
But
unironically, I've been watching this one video. He doesn't call it a Nuzlocke, but it's the same idea, where he's trying to beat Final. I don't know if you remember anything about Final Fantasy X, but he's trying to beat Final Fantasy X without using any of the sphere grid. Basically the part of the game that powers you up, that pretty much scales you with the difficulty of the game, he is avoid using it at all. So he's just going to use base stats of each character, and he has to come up with strategies to be able to capitalize and win. So it's very, very popular, dude. People love making games harder.
Woohoo! So they were feeling themselves. They were in their bag. World of Warcraft, Orcs and Humans comes out. Then here comes Warcraft 2, Tides of Darkness, and now we're rendering. Now we're doing 3D models. Now this designer is really in his fucking bag now. He's creating the armor and the boots, and it's a lot more lively in the game. They're killing it. All of a sudden they decide, you know what? We've got all this good fortune, all this good luck. Let's pivot. Out comes Diablo, the role-player game. And you just explained to me now the difference in that, but watching the footage from Diablo, was that in your game set?
That's an ARPG.
ARPG?
That's an ARPG. It's not just an RPG, it's an ARPG.
What's an ARPG?
So it's an action role playing game.
Oh yeah, okay.
So that one, whoo, that was the one. So I got into that one much later. I didn't know about those games. It wasn't until a buddy of mine who I was playing Final Fantasy 11 with, who told me, he's like, man, I miss Diablo 2. So at the time he was playing Diablo 2. Diablo 2. He was talking about Diablo 2. He said he missed Diablo 2 as one of the best childhood games, whatever. So I don't know what that is. I mean, obviously, me growing up, I wouldn't have ever gotten a chance to play it. It's called Devil. Our mom wasn't buying us a game called Devil. So I was like, damn, dude, that sounds like he was explaining it to me, dude. You explain a game to me, well, dude. Oh, fuck, I get so excited. I was like, dude, that sounds so cool. It's like, I don't have it. Like, I can't play it. This was before the Blizzard client, any of that, right? Yeah. He goes, hold on a second. So he just gets quiet for a little bit. And he's like, all right, dude, here. So he sent me a link. And he basically sent me a link to a torrent for Diablo 2 and the first Diablo. He said, if you're going to play Diablo 2, you got to beat Diablo 1 first. He played with me. We went through Diablo 1. Damn near a speed run. I got almost nothing out of it because I just ran around and clicked stuff. That was my first time ever playing something like that. And then we played Diablo 2. That's what he really wanted to get to. But I needed to play the first one to understand it, I guess. And we played Diablo 2. Man, damn, dude. How old was I? Shit. I had to have been like 17, 18-ish, give or take, around that time. Yeah, that was my first experience with that. And even then, for me, it wasn't like the most nostalgic thing in the world for me, thinking about it now. It was pretty fun, man. I could see why a lot of these older people who play like Diablo 4 and stuff get so pissed off, because it's just like you'll never capture that ever again. The way that was, it was made.
The spirit of it.
It was just different. It's just different.
It was a different time.
People, like you said, it was so magical because they didn't know how to be optimal. So there was a charm to it that, like, hey, this shit's kind of broken, or this shit's a little weird, or this is a little glitchy, or look, I can go through the wall here when I probably shouldn't, right? Like,
yeah,
these things weren't flushed out as well, and one could argue that it's not so much today either, but like, it's under a certain microscope now than it was before. It's what gave the game's charm back in the day. And you'll just never get that stuff anymore, man. It's fucking sad to think about it, dude. It really is.
Well, once all these games started rolling out, and I think you just hit on it right now, and I guess I'll talk to you more about the specifics because you were experiencing this in real time. So you're better equipped to answer this question for me than I am. Let me put this candle back before I fucking break it. This was the first game in history that had a brand new problem. You see, when you get a bunch of people in the room who don't know what they're doing, they start making shit up on their own, customization left and right. Guess what? You get all new problems. So this was one of the first video games in history that was so successful, we started getting server issues. Mm-hmm. We started getting chunky load times, spammy. We started getting glitches. We started getting timeouts on the system, and you had to, your game would either lock out or kick you out of a room or whatever the case. This is all new territory for video games.
But that was during World of Warcraft, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's where we're heading to. Because after Diablo and after Warcraft, now we're leading into a whole new. What was it he was saying? Yeah, the MMORPG, massive multiplayer online role-playing game. I read it again. Fuck you. And now we're leading into a world where, I love the faces of everyone that was talking about the game, because they were like, this is happening all the time. This is a fantasy world that never comes to an end. You're gonna go to sleep, and when you wake up, the fucker is still gonna be there, right where you fucking left it, and the world has been running since you were asleep. Little inside baseball for you folks out there. This guy was so into these games that he would travel. Whenever he would visit someone, like come to my house or something, he would bring the mini TV with the system.
With the VCR.
With the VCR.
I was hooking up through a VCR.
And then would put it in the corner. Because he would bring it to keep an eye on it, essentially.
Yes.
He played it when everyone went to sleep or whenever he had spare time, but you hung out with the family. You did what you were supposed to do, but your character lived on.
Yeah, if something spawned, y'all had to wait.
Yeah.
If something popped, y'all had to wait for about 2 hours until I was done. Because I'm not about to miss, my points for going to the event. And B, I'm not going to lose my opportunity to spend points on a rare item because you motherfuckers want to hang out.
Yeah.
Ain't going to happen.
So he would bring his whole setup to other people's houses.
Yep.
Just to make sure he didn't miss anything. But that's just like an idea for those of you listening for that time period. Because were you the only one that you knew who did that? Who would bring their system with them? Or was that just a you thing?
I mean, my friends were, I guess, not really much older than me. I don't know. My friends were usually a little bit more older than me, so most of them had laptops and shit. So they would just take their laptops.
There you go.
So I want to say yes, like other people did that too, but I don't think they did what I did with the big. Like I had a big ass TV.
Yeah, well, you needed
a big one.
Yeah,
like,
you needed to see it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I needed with the PlayStation. Oh yeah, and that was to New York. Anytime I went to Joe's house, that was regular. That was regular. I would constantly bring that stuff with me. Yeah, because of the in my memory, it's the original FOMO. Like if you're not around, you're missing progression, you're missing, like I said, points. If you're in a group, if you're in an end game group, you're missing points. And every time you miss an event and someone else is there, when that rare item drops and you do not have enough points to bid on it, you ain't gonna see that motherfucker for another 6 months.
Oh my god, months.
So, bro, I was in a Japanese link show. So a lot of my events at one time was at like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in the morning. So what I would do is if I knew that would be the only time that I would go to bed kind of early. If I knew that something was going to spawn at 5 in the morning my time, I would go to bed early and set my alarm for the window. So I'd get up at like 4 a.m. I'd try to get myself awake because I don't want to. If you're AFK when the monster spawns, you don't get points. So I can't fall asleep in case it spawns and I don't do anything. I won't get points for it. So then I would have to get up, help camp the mob, by the way, because sometimes we would camp multiple mobs at once. So I'd be the only person at a camp trying to get the spawn window or a timer on it. Dude, it was a job. It was like one of my first full-time jobs.
That's where you learned commitment.
Dude, good times, man.
As a final,
just thinking about it.
As a final point for this, we now know who to blame. We now know who to put the guilt on. We now know who to point to and say you were the one who fucked it up for everybody else. We're pointing at World of Warcraft fans because this was the first game who bucked tradition, who went against the grain, and invented the subscription model. This was where
they weren't the first.
Yeah, but the other ones didn't do as well.
Revolutionized it.
Yes,
they revolutionized it.
It would have been dead in the ground had they not made it a successful form of payment. They decided to go with the subscription model.
But that's what made it so bananas, because they were going to do that model based off the idea of who they thought were going to play the game.
Yeah, they guessed.
We are not going to survive off of box value doing this with the amount of sales we think we're going to do.
Right.
So they set it in place. They sell it. I don't even know what the number, quadruple, quantum, whatever the word would be for how many more people played to what they forecasted to be, which blew it out of the water, because now they have this structure. They could have easily done box value and been fine with how much that they sold, but there was no way for them to know that. So now not only do they have that income, the box value, but now they have subscription fees, because that was a fail-safe. In case they didn't do too well, the little people that would, because you gotta remember, the MMOs before them, like he said, what did he say? Like they'd have 150, 200, 300 people at a time playing. So now they're going like, okay, like if we're gonna survive doing this, we need people to do a subscription fee. If we're looking at 150, 200 people who are gonna be playing at one time, and then they hit multi-million people playing at one time, but they still had the 300 person structure. They weren't going to pull that back. That's all free money. It's crazy how it worked out, and they had no fucking clue the impact they had in the gaming world. Because they were saying, remember, they were out there calling each other to get to their nearest GameStop because it was like, you have to see this. And they were like, who was it? The one guy, he had like that mole on his lip. He was like, he was going to the release, and he was fine until he hit the exit. And he's like, dude, what the fuck is this traffic? Like, where did this come from? Come to find out, it was to go to GameStop to buy their game. And they're just like, yo, what is happening? It's such a crazy moment, man. It'll never happen again. Makes me sad.
I will end it with the amazing addition when they were talking at the end of the episode about how deep into pop culture that game became. I love the fact that they included, let's do this, Leroy Jenkins. He went. Oh my God! He went inside. He went inside. 0.33 repeating, of course. Yep. One of the greatest fucking clips online with the remix and everything like that. They even helped revolutionize viral videos. How about that? Those motherfuckers did everything.
I mean, people don't even fucking know what a video game is, knows Leroy Jenkins.
Leroy Jenkins.